My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. Somebody different. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Things upset me.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we talk about X-Statix. And we're on issue number 9, a one-shot.
Mm-hmm. X-Statix, the movie, coming out around the same time as the X-Men.
Yeah, 2024,
movies.
Because COVID has affected this terribly.
Yeah. The cover on this one's a little weird, I've always thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's Guy Smith kicking Fat, but Fat is like a gigantic protean super blob man.
Yeah.
In a way that he's not really in the comics.
He's got a weird like printed texture to him that's very strange. It's very cool looking though. Like it's very splashy. Like I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just like the deep red background.
Mm-hmm.
Really great coloring as always. Laura Allred. And this is a fun little in-between episode that basically wraps up a couple of loose threads.
Yes.
From the last one. It's us checking in on Tyke, how he's handling being a leader, and checking in on Sharon Ginsburg, and kind of wrapping up that series of subplots.
Yes.
And also bringing ED back into the fold.
Sure.
As an idea.
We're going to start in Africa, where X-Statix is putting down a rebellion and just killing a bunch of black guys, which Tyke, being a black guy, is a little weirded out about it. He's like, yeah, I'm a good guy, and these are obviously bad guys, and like, we're in Africa, who else would we shoot? But it feels a little weird, and maybe why can't they just be deranged Mormons?
Yeah.
This is a weird thing because like I tried to stream Resident Evil 6 with Chris a few months back now, and number one, that game has like no volume controls whatsoever, so like it's awful. But number two, like that game was kind of rightfully criticized as like, oh, I'm just mowing down a bunch of brown people, and it
do you mean 5?
What did I say? 6? I meant
you said
5.
6.
Yeah,
but 5 is the one where you just indiscriminately kill black men.
Yeah, man, it's real fucking awkward feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and Chris were both like, I don't think that we need to stream this. Like we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stream 7 maybe.
We did that for Watch Out for Fireballs this October. So we talked about that, and there's a lot of weird choices they make.
Oh yeah, man. And the multiplayer isn't like super great either. Like I thought it was gonna be a lot easier to put stuff together, but we had a lot of problems with it.
Yeah. There's a part really early on where they decide to, like, there's like one white woman in the entire country, and she gets like kidnapped by a bunch of black dudes, and then like is forced impregnated by a Plagas.
Oh,
I'm like, why did they make her like this white damsel woman?
Fucking
what a weird choice.
Capcom, what are you doing over there, man?
Yeah. It's and I don't know how far have you ever played that game?
Yeah, I finished that game. I finished that one because you like punch a rock at the end of it. Do I remember that correctly? Like you're just punching a rock in the bottom of a volcano or some shit.
A lava field.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that you get to the part where you're fighting like witch doctors and people with spears.
Yeah.
And that the virus makes people turn back into their primitive selves.
Fucking awful.
Dude, listen to Watch Out for Fireballs. Me and Cole make fun of it a lot during that episode.
Had a good time.
So yeah. So he's kind of doing this monologue, again talking about the kind of the race dynamics at play.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what if there was a breakdown of the kind of people we fight? Regardless of how that goes, I know one thing: the X-Statix movie better have a more ethnically diverse enemy than this.
And then we have our splash page where everybody has finished the fight and he's telling Venus to go home. And I like everybody like posing like this. Like it looks, I don't know why it looks so cool.
Everyone's exhausted.
Yeah. And I love Guy like having his arm around Dupe. Like that is the cutest thing that I've seen in quite some time. Like it's very good.
Well, Dupe looks very like, you've been hanging out with that hussy, haven't you? Haven't you?
No time for D&D when you have to take her out for a date, huh?
But it's not, the whole point of this is that we're not, because the team has been kind of broken a few times recently. And Tyke is doing his monologue. He's mentioning like, hey, I'm doing the hand washing thing more than usual since I become leader. That's only natural. and things are under control. Like all of our little, relationships in the team are good now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not splintered. If you remember when they were going to space, when they were having that thing where they're like, we have to lose on purpose. And Guy is like, lose on purpose? Like, how are we even going to stay together? Where the Spike was like being a homophobe and Guy and Edie were having problems. Now everything's okay. Like Fat and Miles are friends. They're both gay, but they don't like each other. Guy Smith and Venus de Milo are like deeply in love. He's got a relationship with Dead Girl that's going really well. He says, fact is, we're one big colorblind mutant family.
Except.
Except.
Tyke has a secret. He has been sneaking into Venus de Milo's room and like touching up on her special Professor Xavier's sex suit. And he doesn't know why he's doing it. He feels dirty when he does it, and he has to go back to washing his hands. And as he does it today, Guy and Venus come in as he's washing his hands in Venus's sink, and he has to hide in the shower, which of course like does not work because Guy can just feel him, and he tries to pass it off as like, oh, since I've been promoted, I'm super concerned about security, so I just wanted to make sure that everything was secure. And he even says like, if Guy can tell that
it's
I'm
my
lying,
OCD.
Yeah, it's my OCD. Like, but if Guy can tell that he's lying, like he doesn't say anything. He lets it be right. So,
I think that if Tyke were just to express to Professor X that he's having some horny problems, Professor X would build him a suit that jacks him off.
There's got to be a suit for that, man. Like, there's got to be a suit for it. Easy.
If you go to Professor X and you're like, hey, man, kind of horny, you get a brand new outfit, like no matter what. Like he could solve this.
I feel like, how when they go on missions, they're all connected, like, and they can all like talk to each other via the telepathy or whatever. Like, I feel like he's got like a low grade field of just horny detection. So like, I'm scrolling through TV one day and I'm like, oh look, it's Showgirls, huh? And it's that one scene.
Professor that cuts over to Professor X with his fingers on his temples using Cerebro.
Jeremy,
X-Men emergency.
All of a sudden, my phone buzzes and I'm like, summoned to the chamber of what? What is this? I'm busy. I bet you could. I bet Tyke could also pay. Let's pick Havoc. Like, I bet he could pay Havoc $100 to steal a copy of one of Venus de Milo's suits so that he could just have his own.
Sure.
Right?
Or Brian Posehn.
Dude, I don't accept cash. You have to pay me via Patreon. Okay, I'm trying to break away here. I'm trying to do a thing.
You have to pay me in weed. Something like that. Like, I just feel like, he could solve that.
Easy.
We cut over to Solomon O'Sullivan as Sharon Ginsburg is waking up. And they saved her life, but they couldn't save her wings.
Yes.
And they strapped her down. Professor X is like, when you found out about this, they thought you might go, your mutation might manifest itself and you might lose your mind. And that's exactly what happens. They did not use like good straps.
No.
They use crappy straps and she kills him. So goodbye, Sullivan O'Sullivan.
Yeah. And the staff rushes in to see what that noise was as she's killing him, and she just says checking out as she's laying down his bloodied corpse. It's just strange to see people die in this comic. Like, I was like, oh, I kind of expected him to hang out for longer. Okay, he's dead now.
I thought he was going to do more too. I mean, not like I've read this before, but the first time I read it, I was like, huh, this comic gets rid of people once they've served their purpose.
Yeah, which is all for the best, in my opinion.
Yeah. We cut over to the X-Statix team watching the dailies of the X-Statix movie with the actors. Which is, it's kind of fun. Like, they're like taking notes on themselves. They're like, Fat is like, how'd you manage that effect? And they're like, the magic of cinema. They used footage of you fatting up to make the special effect. I don't know if this director is supposed to be someone specifically. I was kind of expecting it to be Bryan Singer.
Sure.
Who's made the X-Men movie and such, but I don't think it looks like that much like him.
I don't know. And it's such a generic, like, white dude with glasses with brown hair.
Dude,
like, I think it would be like, this vaguely looks like me, right? Like,
it's a fella.
It's just a fella. And they are obviously going to be taking some huge liberties with the current status of the X-Statix. Because like this is a movie and it's not the team, so they're gonna have Tyke and Guy like really hate each other because Tyke is in love with Guy's girl, and they're like, well, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, Tyke isn't into Venus de Milo that way, And that's when they're like, oh, who's talking about Venus de Milo? Like, we're going to use Edie. And they introduce the actress that's playing Edie, who looks very much like her and is dressed in the same kind of outfit.
Looks like her, but just different enough. Like the way they do these actors in this, the way Mike Allred does that is really impressive to me because he's got a really simple style. You know, there aren't a lot of lines in his work that's like big, thick, bold, clear lines, but they look distinct.
Yeah.
Like they look like stunt doubles.
It's a real like kind of weird uncanny valley thing, right? Like it's just like it kind of looks like them, and then like they're going to play with that in this issue later on, which is very good. As Edie walks out, or the actress playing Edie walks out, Guy and Venus both are kind of taken aback, and she's like effusive to get next to Guy. Like, you know, you really got to tell me all about her. Like, I have to know. Maybe we could spend some time together. And he's like, maybe you should just act. Like, she was acting most of her life anyway. Like, just get the fuck back off me, man.
You know, they mentioned Tyke says like, what's the final makeup of this team? And he mentions everybody who's there, but they don't have Venus de Milo. Instead, they have El Guapo.
Yes.
The handsome one. And he's like, well, there isn't a member of X-Statix. He's like, well, yeah, but they wanted a Latin presence in the movie. And there's the real life mutant Robbie Rodriguez, El Guapo, here.
Guapo.
Who has a magical skateboard. We're going to learn more about him soon. And I love Fat and Billy Bob just looking over each other like, dude.
Like you get a feeling like they're both looking at each other going dibs, right? Like that's the look between these two friends. Going back for just a minute, as Guy like kind of pushed the actress that plays Edie off of him and like, hey, I don't want to hang out with you. I just really like this very small moment where Venus is leading him off and saying thank you. Like, I appreciate you not like, you know, getting involved with that, basically. Like that would have made me very uncomfortable, and I thought that was just a real human moment.
Yeah, a really well observed little relationship moment. You know, we cut back to them watching the dailies here, just kind of you know, bantering amongst themselves, doing X-Statix stuff. And Miles at this point says like, hey, maybe we should take another leaf from the screenplay. You know, they're fighting on the screen. That's what people like in real life. Maybe we should take a leaf from this and have Tyke fall in love with Venus. And everyone gets mad about this. Obviously, Tyke's girlfriend, Dead Girl, gets mad about this. Venus de Milo gets mad about it. Mr. Sensitive gets mad about it. And there's this great little moment where they say like, hey, that was a stupid thing to say, Miles. He's like, good. I decided to say more stupid things. That should make me more popular. And Spike's like, I didn't say stupid. I said accessible. You know, look at the X-Men. They're not stupid, but they have a bigger fan base than us.
Yeah. And this is when they start joking about we should get Wolverine involved in the team, like, you know. And then Guy comes up and is like, "Hey, I have a headache." And it's like, "I just need some fresh air." And he drives off back to the set where he can hang out with Edie because I guess it's just too much to resist. Like she looks too much like the X. And then she immediately is extremely horny. Like, oh, let's take off all of our clothes right now. Like, let's do it. Like, it's time to practice the love scene.
It's getting hot inside.
Yeah.
You know, she literally said, you know, he's like, you know, you're just the actress. And she's like, yeah, but I have low self-esteem. You know, later. Before that happens, we cut over to the other actors who are just being fucking gross bros. Talking about getting laid, you know, just fucking and trucking. And they see Sharon Ginsburg, who mistakes them for the members of X-Statix. Yep.
And then brutally murders almost all of them.
Yeah.
and like as their dead bodies on the ground is like, I'm not who you think I am.
It's horrifying. As his guts and intestines are out. You know, she's strangling Guy Smith, just saying, who is Guy Smith? And he happens to be there, so he pops out and stops her.
Yeah.
You know, in this fight, she blames them. She's like, you know, you are happy and successful at peace with your mutant side. You convinced me to come out and not hide what I was. And that's like what ruined me. You know, she's missing her wings. He's about to die from her. And then El Guapo saves him.
Yeah. He hears
flying skateboard.
A low whistle, like the air being parted. And then he sees El Guapo like skateboarding with and like carrying this woman behind him. Just doing some kickflips in the air, man. It's super dope.
Yeah. Yep. They're watching his reel and they're like all voting that he can be the new member of the team for real. Miles says, I'd exercise my franchise in his direction. which I like. And Spike's like, we can only do that if we don't get Wolverine. And Mr. Sensitive's like, hey, Dupe, don't you have some connections to Wolverine? Don't you have some incriminating blackmail photos? And this is the only translation of this that I remember. But he says, do you want color or black and white? And everybody cracks up.
Very good.
Yeah. But this is where, Venus is like, hey, why were you there? And it's like, I thought I knew somebody on the set and I didn't. He was tempted by the fruit of another, but he did not actually go through with that.
It's time for another press conference where X-Statix is going to brag about the thing that they've done. And of course, Tyke, as leader of the team, has to do this presentation essentially. And he says that he is completely capable and fine and not nervous about it, but he had to wash his hands 5 times before he came out on stage because his compulsion wasn't able to be given up. And we find out that they edited Dupe's footage so that everybody they were killing was white instead of black.
Yeah. The press conference says, is it true there was a group of Mormons involved? Yeah. And he says no comment. It had a $200 bet with a guy that they'd swallow that little rumor, or bet with Guy.
Nice.
Yeah. So, just kind of like a nice little neat package, wraps up the Sharon Ginsburg stuff. Has Tyke talking about his race issues a little bit, and kind of introduces Edie as something that Mr. Sensitive is going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's what the next issue is going to be about.
Yep. And we've talked about that before of how this comic actually has people dealing with grief in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
It actually feels meaningful that a character passed away and that they have to, deal with that grief. So,
yeah. Good issue.
Excellent issue.
Good, fun issue. Yeah. El Guapo has a real weird arc on this team.
I can't wait. I didn't get enough El Guapo on this. Also El Guapo is a great name for a superhero. I know it's literally just a foreign language, and I'm showing some shallowness there, but yeah.
It sounds it's a good name. It's like Mr. Sensitive, it's a little postmodern and self-aware. As a name, it has nothing to do with his powers. It's just for an image obsessed character. He gets a highlight issue soon as well. We're going to learn a little bit about his backstory.
Tell me more about the skateboard.
Kinda. If you like the show, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Sorry, I had to talk through a burp there.
Ooh, fun times. I can't edit it out either. Everybody live with it.
Yeah, it just is the case. I didn't. I think I managed to swallow it.
Okay. Living in the moment is not helping anybody. So if you just want to move right on, it's fine.
I just really want to post game it.
Okay. Well, I mean, for my side, it was just barely audible at all, and I wouldn't have noticed it if you hadn't mentioned anything.
Yeah,
so
I really Streisand affected it. So yeah. You can also leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcast or Podcast Addict or Podcaster.
Yep.
Or any of those things. And just tell your friends and, be good to each other.
Yeah, be nice to one another. We will be back in a couple of days with more coverage of X-Statix.